welcome to the Main Event Marks Podcast. I'm your co-host, the former voice on your AM radio dial, wrestling fan for over 20 years, figure collector, and I've got cats. I need this podcast. I am Troy, and your other co-host with the most. He is a coffee enthusiast, the man who frequently scratches that figure itch, and he's the WWE walking wrestling encyclopedia of this podcast. He is the anvil to my hitman. He's Greg. What's up, man?
What up?
You get relegated to Anvil.
Hey, former Oakland Raider, I win.
Oh, I forgot he played for the Raiders. That's right. Well, the Anvil is unfortunately no longer with us, but I don't know, man. Is it like me and my dad always had a soft spot for him? I guess it was mostly his run with Brett that was remembered fondly by both of us. But I don't know. I have a Jax figure of him. I don't know if I told you.
I have the very rare Mattel Elite figure of him.
Ah, nice. I wanted that one so bad.
Perks of being in the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Patreon.
Right. We are remembering Jim the Anvil Neidhart in a positive way today. This is In Your House 16 Canadian Stampede. This is, in my opinion, I haven't seen every single In Your House event, but in my opinion, so far, this has been the best In Your House I've ever seen.
Outside of the NXT one, yes.
Yeah, well, I'm not counting that one. I mean, I realize it's canon, pal. But, yeah, besides that one. This took place in 1997. You and I were big fans of the year 1997. We kind of talked about it last week, where we think it's possibly the best year for both companies, or one of the best years for both companies, WCW and WWF.
Yeah,
I
watched this one live, by the way, so I remember it perfectly.
Nice. So
we'll get more into why, but obviously it's we'll give the final grade at the end, but yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is a big event. I've been wanting to cover it for a while, but I forgot that it happened in July. And when I was asking you, it's like, well, I want to do the Flair Steamboat trilogy, but I want to put some different stuff between them. What do you want to cover? And you mentioned ECW Heatwave 99, which we did 2 weeks ago. And then this week we're doing Canadian Stampede. And when you mentioned that, I went, yes. I forgot about it. I want to watch it. So I watched it. I enjoyed it. I watched it all. Usually I watch these. I break them up into time periods, like throughout the day or a couple days or whatever. But this one, I sat in one session. I watched it all the way through. Yeah, and it was great. It was fantastic. Real quick before we dive into the news and notes, I do want to mention, if you are not following us on Twitter or Instagram, get your ass into gear. Me and Greg both are most active on Twitter. Follow us at @main_event_marks. We do have a Facebook page now, so go check that out, facebook.com/main_event_marks_pod. And then you can email us at maineventmarkspod@gmail.com if you are weird and don't have social media but still feel like reaching out. Because everybody has
we rip
email.
A line off from Matt Cardona. Dude, Twitter's free. There's no reason not to have it. It's free.
And also, go subscribe to us on YouTube. Search for us. We have to have 100 subscribers to get that custom URL. So please subscribe and tell your friends. We have exclusive content on there where if you like our discussions about figures and collecting and where to find stuff, we post some of it on social media, but we have full-length, short, easy-to-digest videos talking about it on social media. We're working on more content about either figure collecting, memorabilia collecting, games, maybe we'll do some of your favorite retro gaming. Just search for Main Event Marks Podcast or just Main Event Marks on YouTube. We should be one of the first things that pop up. You ready to dive into some news and notes of this time, Greg?
Yeah. Oh, this is going to take me back.
Yeah. Now, especially these first few stories. These first three things are all connected. Both the WWF and WCW held house shows in Los Angeles on the same night. This was in July of 97, by the way. WCW claimed a total attendance of 10,948, which is by far the best WCW has ever drawn in California. But there's a question on if the show was even profitable. WCW spent tons of money on advertising. They threw in all of the production bells and whistles of a regular Nitro with pyro and stage setup and everything. They even called it Saturday Night Nitro, by the way. And even Hulk Hogan worked it. Yeah. And even Hulk Hogan worked the show, which, of course, cost extra money because he was not obligated to work house shows.
Well, that's Hollywood Hogan, though. I mean, he should have worked it for free.
Right. It was in Hollywood. Plus, the venue they ran, which was the Great Western Forum, is one of the most expensive arenas in the entire country to run.
I'm sorry. It's a crap hole now, so.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you knew anything about it. I've never heard of the Great Western Forum ever.
That's where
in my life.
the Clippers and the Lakers used to play before they got Staples Center.
Oh, I thought.
And now I think the Clippers are trying to get another stadium in the same city. I don't know if that would mean that went down or what. It's a crap hole now, though. So I've heard. To be fair, I've never been there, but I've heard. I've seen pictures, too. It doesn't look that good.
Didn't you say the Cow Palace is kind of a dump now?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah,
it literally smells like horse crap, so there you go.
It's called the Cow Palace, Greg.
Okay. Cow crap. Cow dung, whatever. Sorry.
The WWF, by the way, drew 9,469 fans to their show. And despite drawing slightly less than WCW, without all the added production and promotional costs, WWF is the clear money winner here. Check this out. They had a bikini contest that apparently went on for over 20 minutes with all the women stripping.
Gee, I wonder why they drew so much.
Oh, well, that had to be in East LA. But anyway, the crowd...
East LA?
The crowd began throwing money, quote, which Sonny was glad to collect. I'm going to leave the jokes alone.
I don't even like, kind of disbelieve that.
Nope. Sable apparently wore the least and got the biggest pop to win. Again, I don't disbelieve that. I guarantee, and I cut out some of the commentary, whatever, because I'm getting this from the Wrestling Observer. Uncle Dave was notoriously... Eat me. But Uncle Dave was notoriously sexist and just hateful towards Sable. I don't know if she turned him down or what, but he would say things in here like, well, she was showing off her new boob job and blah, 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 and just like really putting her down. Like he was nasty to Sable. Crap that he would get in trouble for in today's era. And rightfully so.
Didn't he get in trouble for saying that stuff about the Iconics?
Oh, yeah, he got in trouble for, like, he got grilled by everybody and their mother, except for the nephews, of course, for insinuating, well, he didn't even insinuate, he flat out said that Peyton Royce has put on weight since NXT. Like, bad show. But it's just like, why? Constantly picking on this woman. Like, what the hell did she do to you? Why do you have it out for her?
I'm going with your theory that she turned him down.
Yep, same here. By the way, on the same night, Mike Tyson faced Evander Holyfield in a fight where Tyson bit Holyfield's ear. So this was a big night.
And that would get him a job later with WWE, so whatever. Right?
I know. WWE just won the night on the whole. I mean, maybe not attendance-wise, but, I mean, if you think about it, WCW drew 10,948. WWF drew 9,469. So they were just about 1,500 less. That's not too bad. And like they pointed out, with all the extra bells and whistles WCW threw at it, they...
Think about the venues, too, so...
Right. Yeah, that's true. Here's one for you. You weren't watching UFC in the late 90s, were you?
I started watching in, like, 2000, I think, so, yeah.
Okay, well, this is something that actually comes to play in the main event of this show. UFC has banned the term no holds barred, and they will no longer use it in advertising, and the announcers can no longer say it. The company is facing attempts on all sides to shut them down, and, quote, no holds barred doesn't sound good when you're trying to get an athletic commission to allow your show on pay-per-view carriers to carry it. Instead, the plan is for events to be referenced to as mixed martial arts from here on out. That won't stick.
I think it's, I'm not going to say funny or hypocritical, but it's like, they air hardcore porn on pay-per-view, but this was the limit. I need to point that out.
If you want to watch people doing sex acts, then that's perfectly fine. You can pay for that and nudity and whatever else. But if you want to see a man punch another man in the face and bloody them up, now that's too far. Right. Oh my gosh. And I say it comes into play in the main event because I don't know if you heard this from Jim Ross, but when the first time Ken Shamrock's tagged in the main event, he says he's from the world of no holds barred fighting.
Yeah.
So
they used to call him from the Ultimate Fighting world.
I think he did say no holds barred ultimate fighting in a cage. I thought once I read this story, I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, wow, okay. As UFC is trying to move away from that, Jim Ross.
Well, it's only about a year or a couple of years away from being legitimized at this point.
Yeah. We'll have to talk more about UFC, kind of dive into that one day. Maybe when we get to a show closer to, when UFC really takes off. But we'll talk about that later. More WCW, man. I don't know if you remember, Curt Hennig debuted on Nitro around this time
I do remember. This was a big night.
Well, they say he debuted, quote, in the weakest way possible, simply walking out during the NWO beatdown at the end of the show.
I think he was walking out and they faded to black.
Yeah, so that's kind of a fart in church.
It's funny though, because I believe, if I remember correctly, I think I was just talking about this with somebody, that night, the big surprise is here, and I believe Raven debuted as well.
Exactly, yes. That was my next part.
I thought that was the surprise, and then Hennig came out, and so I don't know which one was the surprise. I'm going to say it was Hennig because, let's be honest, fewer people knew who Raven was.
Right.
But it was a pretty significant night. I remember this vividly because, like I said, I couldn't figure out which one was the surprise.
Johnny Polo? Scotty Flamingo? What's he doing looking like Kurt Cobain? But yes, Raven also debuted on Nitro in the crowd, and at the end, when Hennig walked out, Raven jumped the barricade as well, and they both just sort of stared down the NWO as the show went off the air.
Man, watching that back, I'm like, how the hell did you not do anything with Raven? That makes no sense to me. Like, they clearly were positioning him to be something.
What gets me was...
I am baffled at that.
Well, what got me was 1997, Eric Bischoff was in firm control of, everything. So, this was his stronghold time. And he says openly on all his podcasts, he's like, look, I like Scott Levy. I don't get Raven. And I never have. I didn't see anything in him.
Why the hell did you sign him?
I know. Because he wanted a job? Was he cheap? I don't you needed cannon fodder? I don't get it.
Look.
And he was cannon fodder for the most part.
Not to take a shot at ECW, but anything that they offered him is probably significantly more.
Oh, well, yeah, at least he could.
So, I mean, that right there, when you say they need money, yeah, clearly.
Well, no, I mean, was he cheap? Is that why Bischoff signed him? So,
yeah, probably, but again, cheap, it has a bit different meaning when you're talking about a guy going from ECW. That's a crap company. I mean, let's be real, though.
Yeah, right. Well, they freed up some cap room here, Greg, because they released a crap ton of wrestlers, including Michael Wallstreet, Craig Pittman, both Nasty Boys, because you can't release just one, Jim Duggan, Joe Gomez, Ice Train, oh no, Nancy Sullivan, The Renegade, Lanny Poffo, Colonel Robert Parker, again, oh no, Jerry Lynn, David Taylor, Pat Tanaka, and the French Canadians.
Okay, a lot of those people would end up somewhere else. I know the French Canadians went back to being the Quebecers. I know we all know what happened to Jerry Lynn. I'm pretty sure Joe Gomez and the Renegade come back to WCW. We know Knobbs comes back to WCW.
The only time I remember the Renegade coming back was when he posed as the Ultimate Warrior in the War Games in '98.
Well, he was also just a jobber. He was like the Renegade, but he didn't have the face paint on. He would be a jobber. He'd literally be in the ring, ready to be beat. So that's what he came back as. So he didn't come back as the Renegade we all know and love. Sorry.
You're awfully liberal with that.
Look, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but I just, even when I was a young fan, it was like a mark for all the good guys. I didn't like the Renegade. That was like the first face I ever didn't like, honestly. I just didn't care. I knew right away that's not the Ultimate Warrior, so I don't give a damn about him. That was my...
Right. Well, I mean, two things from two different podcasts. First of all, Arn Anderson was asked by somebody, would you rather have a 30-minute Iron Man match with the Renegade or a 30-minute Iron Man match with RoboCop from, was that Capital Combat?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a long pause, and then Arn said, I think I could get a good match out of RoboCop.
Holy crap.
And he was like, look, not to speak ill of him, but he was awful. And he hated working with him. And you could see why. You and I watched those pay-per-views from 95, and just, holy God.
I'm going to drop another plug for the Major Wrestling Bros real quick. They actually, in their exclusive Patreon group, have a watch-along of Arn Anderson and Renegade when Renegade wins the title. And
oh, hell.
They're kind of doing over-the-top commentary. And now I guess I saw it, but now I really believe it was clearly them being sarcastic.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it was like working with a cement mixer. My God.
Yeah.
And freaking, that's why I sent you that text one day. I was like, here, let's have a moment of silence in retrospect for Arn Anderson and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff having to put the Renegade over repeatedly.
Let's just make this clear, by the way. We're not crapping on the deceased, okay? We're talking about the wrestling skills. I don't want people to think that, but wrestling skills. I'm sure the man was a really good guy. I don't know, but
yeah, I've never heard anybody say he was a terrible person ever. Yeah, I heard he was a good guy for all intents and purposes. It just, he was not a wrestler. He was a bodybuilder. That was about it. And then
he literally was the Ultimate Warrior. Okay.
Yeah. Well, except he was a nice guy. Well,
okay, fair.
The other reference from a podcast was Conrad called Bischoff out on it, and he was like, come on. It was clearly, brother wanted to work with the Ultimate Warrior. You couldn't get him, so you got him. Right? And Bischoff was like, you know it. So he flat out admitted it. Hogan wanted Warrior. They couldn't get Warrior, so they got this guy to cosplay as the Warrior.
So was Warrior going to come in as his partner then? Because that's what Renegade was his partner.
I guess he...
Or at least just in his stable, whatever, but...
Yeah, I guess so. He wanted to do a team-up thing with him, and they couldn't get him. And, well,
good
Bischoff
Lord,
did
man.
say...
13-year-old me would have been creaming my pants for that. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
Actually, it happened in 95, so it would have been 11, but still.
Yeah. Well, Bischoff said after he was like, well, I mean, Hogan did want it, but he was like, this was more Jimmy Hart really wanted this. I don't know why.
How would Jimmy Hart have pitched that?
Come here, baby. Let me tell you something, baby. We're going to bring in the Ultimate Warrior. He's going to team up with Hogan, baby. It's going to be great. We're going to sell out all arenas all over the world, baby.
I mean,
I've gotten some feedback on your Jimmy Hart and Stu Hart impressions, by the way, and... Oh,
you'll hear the Stu Hart later.
The Stu Hart one is gotten like the most rave reviews.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna break out Stu later on, but we'll get to that. One more thing from WCW. Buff Bagwell will be starring in a movie. I'm using the word starring, liberally. But he's gonna be starring in a movie called Return to Savage Beach, which I think is a missed opportunity for Macho Man, but whatever.
I don't think he lost any sleep over that, quote, missed opportunity.
Right.
The moment you said Buff Bagwell star, I literally thought what you said. That's
right. But I guess.
Oh my God. Sorry.
But I guess Return to Savage Beach is a sequel to another low budget movie he was in. So.
Something about gigolos?
Or calf implants, one of the two. Here's some ECW stuff, man, real quick. Jim Cornette debuted in ECW around this time in an angle similar to the Jerry Lawler angle, where he came in to crap on it. The lights went out, and when they came back on, Cornette was in the ring, and he began hitting people with a tennis racket. Also during the Cornette angle, Jerry Lawler hit Tommy Dreamer in the bowels with a kendo stick for real. Dreamer was legitimately injured and couldn't work the next night's show, and is said to be in tons of pain. Yeah, they had to take him to drain his nuts.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you watch The Rise and Fall of ECW, amazing documentary, by the way, he mentions that. Yeah. They're literally, like, draining his testicles. Like, oh, my God, I'm getting, like, pain chills just thinking about it.
Right. Yeah, it's so bad. Yeah, because Cornette said he doesn't wear his glasses because he was afraid they would get broke, and he doesn't have contacts, so he said he's blind as a bat without his glasses, and he's just running around whacking people with a racket. And he said Tommy's selling on the ground, or he thought he was selling on the ground.
He wasn't selling crap.
Yeah. Well, he said he went over and smacked him with a racket, and he's like, well, he didn't sell it, so I smacked him again, and I'm looking at him, and I look at his face, I'm like, oh, you're hurt. It's like, yeah. And
I don't want to assume anything, but I think that Jerry Lawler took great pride in that, probably. I don't know. But
I don't know.
Crap he talks about ECW.
Yeah. Well, Cornette said, he was like, look, Lawler had some of the best punches, like working punches ever. And he said, and just like all of his stuff looked great. And he said 9 out of 10 of them were amazing and wouldn't break an egg, but that 10th one is a live round.
Wow.
More out of ECW. Both members of the tag team, the Pitbulls, Gary Wolfe and Anthony Durante, I think is how you pronounce it, they were arrested by federal authorities last week on 3 counts of steroid and marijuana trafficking. That tracks. Again, not to speak ill of the dead.
I don't want to make jokes, but yeah.
Durante,
it's just funny how marijuana was a federal crime in 97, apparently.
Right? I know. I was like, man.
I've never ever touched the stuff, but I've always been like, whatever. It's just a freaking herb, man. Like,
yeah,
I don't think people should be have federal indictments on their damn record for weed.
No, yeah, some people are still in prison for life.
I know
for that.
Yeah,
blows my mind. But we're getting off into a tangent here. Glenn Jacobs is no longer using the Diesel gimmick in USWA. And he has been working as a gimmick named Doomsday, but wearing the old Lord Humongous mask. For those that don't know Lord Humongous, he wore like a Jason mask, and he almost looked like the lost member of Demolition, I think. That was one of them gimmicks where, maybe you can help me think of one, maybe like Doink or whatever, where they just keep throwing big dudes into the outfit.
Yeah, I mean, Teenager, that was Suicide too, so.
Ah, yeah, Suicide, that's another one. Yep. Lord Humongous was just like a southern trope, and at one point it was played by Sid Vicious. So I guess Glenn Jacobs gets, yeah. So Glenn Jacobs gets his time in there before he becomes the devil's favorite libertarian. I think that's one example of really paying your dues for something big to happen. Oh God, right. Have you ever seen him
from that crap to Hall of Famer? So there you go.
Well, yeah. Have you seen him as the Christmas creature?
I think I've seen the pics.
Oh, I watched a match with him. It's awful because I wanted to see it. Like I had to see it. Just I don't know. It's why people like the people that watch Dr. Pimple Popper. Like, I had to see it, man. It's disgusting. But I kind of want to watch it.
It's like going by a car crash. I mean, you just can't help but look.
Right. Speaking of Glenn Jacobs, on Raw, they finally had Paul Bearer reveal Undertaker's big secret about his baby brother, Kane. We'll talk more about that faux show.
God, they hammer that home in the WWE title match, too.
Oh, good God, Lord. Yeah, they did. All right, man, that's the news and notes. There's some more stuff to talk about during the show, but we'll get into that. Let's dive into In Your House 16 Canadian Stampede, man. Took place July 6th, 1997, from the Canadian Airlines Saddle Dome in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. The attendance was 12,151. Pay-per-view buy rate was .59, which is pretty good for an In Your House pay-per-view, which I don't seriously did great buys, right?
Usually, but this was a really hot moment, or hot period too, so.
It definitely was. I don't think Bret Hart was hotter than, maybe when he was a babyface around WrestleMania 9, 10, he was like pretty hot then, but his run, I think, is like just amazing. Everybody remembers this run of Bret Hart, and the Hart Foundation as a whole. And the thing was, like, not to diminish Owen, Brian Pillman, British Bulldog, and Jim Neidhart, but I think Bret was so freaking hot at this time that by osmosis, they became huge stars. Like, bigger stars, I should say.
Easily.
This was great, and Stone Cold had, I mean, he was not super deep into the Stone Cold run. I think he was still getting, he had just gotten his sea legs to him, and he'd really sunk into the Stone Cold character. Like, we'll talk about that more, but he was freaking white hot around this time too, and he was about to just explode. They set up in the promo package before the show, they set up the Bizarro World feel for Calgary before the event even starts. They're basically telling everybody at home, hey, if you're in America, we know you like Austin and Shamrock and all these guys, but this crowd's going to boo them, and they're going to cheer the bad guys. Just a heads up. I thought that was a nice touch to the opening promo.
I did too, but it's kind of funny how they still cheer some of the good guys too. So
they do, yeah. So it's not a complete Bizarro World. And I think I can't remember if this is the promo package. I know there's one later on in the show, but Todd Pettengill does voiceovers for it. We come in, Vince McMahon, Jim Ross, or good old JR, as he's announced, and Jerry the King Lawler are on commentary for this one on a 3-man booth. All of them are dressed like ranchers, except JR, who's, oddly enough, JR looks like the least Southern person out of the group. Here's what I'm thinking. You remember Back to the Future 3, where Marty dresses up in like some Western, like some flashy, like rhinestone cowboy crap to go to the Old West, and he looks ridiculous.
The one right before he takes off, like the horrible colored ones?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
I thought of that looking at King and McMahon sitting next to Jim Ross, who's in a suit with a black cowboy hat. Jerry Lawler is in a comedically big cowboy hat. Did you notice that?
Yeah. I noticed it covering his face most of the night, like he was trying to hide something.
It did. I was like, I didn't know it was him at first until they said it, like, until he started talking, and I was like,
well, the way they introduced him too, like, on commentary with us tonight, it's like, I thought it was gonna be like Michael Hayes or something, or Doc Hendricks.
You're right, yeah. Here's something I had to ask you. Was it just me and my equipment, or was the audio, like, over the speakers throughout the entire night just kind of the drizzling craps?
I don't remember the audio being bad, but I was watching it, and then I was watching with my friend Ramon, and we're both like, wow, the camera sucks back then. Like, it was blurry and stuff, and you can, I mean, obviously we're in the days of HD, but like, man, it looked like crap. But I didn't notice any audio issues.
Well, the audio issues I noticed because when Triple H first came out, I was like, is he coming out to no music at all? And then you start to faintly hear it halfway through his entrance.
I want to say I did catch that. Semi-remember that.
It did that with a few theme songs. I was like, there's speakers, and sometimes Finkel was like drown out, or like, I don't know, it sounded like they needed to turn it up. And I realized the crowd was loud a lot, but this was like when the crowd wasn't so loud, you still couldn't hear them. So I was like, what is with their speaker system in the Saddle Dome, dude? Yeah, speaking of Triple H, the first match of the night, there's only 4 matches on the card, by the way. The first match of the night, Hunter Hearst Helmsley with Chyna versus Mankind. This match went for 13 minutes, 14 seconds. This match stems from Helmsley using Chyna to defeat Mankind and become the 1997 King of the Ring. Chyna smashed the scepter over Mankind's back, and Helmsley didn't smash one, he smashed 2 crowns over Mankind. Because
fun fact, he did that because he did not want to wear the crown.
Yes, I was about to say, he wanted to let everybody and their brother know, I am not wearing this thing. Which, I don't know, I think it would have fit him with his gimmick at the time. I realized he was trying to transition a little bit, but...
I was going to say that one of my notes for this is, in watching this match, clearly the change for Triple H was coming, or was just like here. Because he was no longer the stuck-up blue blood.
He's still doing the mannerisms, the bowing, and he comes out to that like Beethoven song or Mozart song, whatever. I can't remember the name of it.
When I was looking back when I was a kid, I thought it was Joyful. Now I know it's not, but
oh, it's not?
No, I thought it was, but
oh, that's news to me. But yeah, he's coming out to that, and he's doing his bowing and whatever. But when he cuts his promos, he's talking like Paul Levesque in real life. He's not talking like the stuck-up blue blood that would talk with a little bit of a, like the stereotypical accent for rich people. And he's not acting like, he's not like putting the hand behind his back, acting proper and stuck up and whatever anymore. This was the Triple H. If you remember WWF Warzone, the video game for PlayStation, this, I think, is the Triple H we get in that game. I'm
pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily the outfit, but he's still doing the bowing taunt and crap like that.
This is when I started becoming a fan of his.
I was never, honestly, a fan of Triple H until he became the game. I can't say completely. I liked some of the stuff he did, but I never would have considered myself a fan, per se. I don't know. But
I feel like he's like one of the first heels, I think Austin was, but he was like one of the first heels I actually liked. I don't remember why specifically.
Mine was probably Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
Well, yeah, but yeah, he was supposed to. I mean, no, you weren't supposed to, but like, they were the cool heels.
Right. And then Triple H and Shawn Michaels became cool heels and whatever. But yeah, during this match, of course, we get some Chyna interference in this one. She hip tosses Mankind's leg into the steel steps at one point, so Hunter works the leg through most of the match. The match ends when they brawl into the crowd and both get counted out. Normally, when a match ends with basically a non-finish, I don't like it very much. That kind of flattens it for me. But I gave this one 3 stars. So did Uncle Dave. What do you give it?
I gave it 3 because let me put it like this. At first when I saw it, I thought it was like, 1, maybe 2. But then you realize it's leading into stuff that you'll keep seeing throughout the night. And it's adding to a bigger overall picture. So points for that. But I did say I thought it was a little bit boring. I said clearly changes Triple H was coming. I thought that, the highlight of the match for me was Chyna beating the hell out of Mankind all match.
Yeah, she would sock him in the head, hip toss him. She really got involved in Hunter's matches back then.
Yeah, and but for where it was clearly going though, I had to give extra point for that. So.
Well, and think about this is one of their first encounters. I mean, obviously King of the Ring as well.
That was an encounter by chance, I believe, if you think about it though, because the brackets. So.
Right. Yeah. So this is like one of their the evolution beginning of them. Not to I just realized what word I used, but I mean, think about all the historic encounters down the road between these two. I mean,
it's kind of crazy too, because it would be completely different characters when they like Triple H would literally face all 3 phases of Foley within a 2-month span starting here.
Yeah. Well, there's the 2 matches that come to mind when I think of these two. You'll have to tell me what event this was at because I forget. The cage match where they had the big black cage, or maybe
that's the next month actually. That's the SummerSlam.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's what this is building to.
Yeah, SummerSlam '97. Triple H and Mankind in big. Was it blue or did they change it black at that point?
I think it was blue. I don't think it changed black until I want to say St. Valentine's Day Massacre. At least that's the first one I remember.
Right, and I think that was the one and only time they used big black, if that's what you want to call it.
That might have been the last one ever, too, I think.
Yeah, they retired the crap out of that cage. Because they said they retired that cage after Vince finally worked in it and was like, wow, this thing does suck. And they're like, yeah, we've been telling you for a decade this thing sucks. Same thing when they said the rings got a lot softer once Vince started having to bump in them. But yeah, so that's the one I'm thinking of. And then obviously, way down the road, I'm thinking of Triple H and Mick Foley or Cactus Jack, I guess, at Royal Rumble, the 2000 or 99?
2000. Yeah, that was.
Okay.
Freaking epic.
One of Triple H's best matches ever. And didn't they face each other in a cell?
Yeah, right after that, the month after.
Yeah. So those are the 3 matches that come to mind when I think of these two. This is a forgotten one, obviously.
Honestly, one of the first matches that come to my mind is Cactus Jack's debut in Madison Square Garden. Also, these two.
Man, Mick Foley got to live out so many freaking games. Yeah, it's hard for him to walk, and he's got some concussion issues that went on, but man, he lived out a lot of dreams for himself. Next up,
I don't think he ever dreamt of having 3 characters, by the way. That was just extra. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, great. That was just gravy. And I was shocked, by the way, that Vince McMahon let Jim Ross reference Cactus Jack in this match.
Well, I think it's because they know he's coming.
Yeah, probably. That's now that you mention it. Because he hits the elbow off the apron that used to be his finisher, and then he pops up and does bang bang. And Jim Ross is like, oh, reference to his Cactus Jack days. And I was like, whoa. Because usually that's a big no-no. But we go to the back, we finally see, first we get a promo package. It's footage of the Hart Foundation attending just a crap ton of events throughout Calgary all week, doing press and meet and greets and all this stuff and parades. We then see a bunch of the American WWF superstars, including your favorite, Mr. Soon-to-be Midian. He is there.
Hell yeah.
He was Phineas I. Godwin. Pig. That was great.
Clever. Oink oink.
Yeah. The hell. Tex Slazenger. But he was with a bunch of WWF superstars who did
Superstars, pal. They're entertainers.
Yeah. WWF superstars. God dang it. They were given a key to the city, and they had a tug of war with Calgary police. They did a little event there. But then we go to the back with Doc Hendricks. He interviews the Hart Foundation in their locker room. Then all of a sudden, Steve Austin bursts in, and he's held back by, I recognize it, obviously Pat Patterson's right there, but he's also being held back by Mike Sharp. Did you see that?
I did not. No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
I did not notice Pat Patterson because I made a Canadian joke. Because, I was like, he's the one to kill his fellow Canadians.
Oh, wow. I mean, Pat Patterson was front and his face was right there, you could see, but Mike Sharp was on the other side of him, pushing him back. So
the old jobber from the 80s, right?
Yes, yep, Iron Mike Sharp.
He passed away, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he recently passed. That yeah.
It was recent. Yeah.
He was also one of the loudest men in the ring. If you ever watch any of his matches, he would shout and yell.
I ain't got nothing on Mongo, but yeah.
This was a precursor to Chris Jericho too. But yeah, they pull Austin back from the fight, get him out of the locker room, and Brett says that he doesn't want to take out Austin 5-on-1. He wants to take him out 5-on-5, all fair and square in the ring.
He would not have said that in America on an episode of Monday Night Raw.
Oh yeah, right.
I love how all of a sudden they got to be the face for Canada. That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, they said Brett pitched that, and Vince was like, at first Vince didn't know if that would work, and Brett's like, trust me, I can do it. You know, it'll work. Because he said, anytime we go to Canada, I'll be a babyface. They'll love me. He said, but in America, I'll talk crap on them. And he's like, and Canadians won't care that I'm healing on America because they don't care about America. And it's like, hey, it freaking worked. And then I like how they asked, Conrad asked Eric Bischoff if he considered doing anything like that in WCW, and he was like, nah. He's like, who cares about Canada versus America? That's not even a thing. It's like,
WCW ever went to Canada when you think about it. Like, hardly ever.
Right. I can't think of one card off the top of my head where they were in Canada.
I think Brett and Chris Benoit at Mayhem was in Canada, and I know that New Blood Rising, I believe, was in Canada.
Yeah, because that's the Canadian pool match with Lance Storm.
Yeah, that's why I remembered it, actually.
And they brought out Jacques Rougeau and Brett.
Oh, there you go. He did go back to WCW eventually. Yes, there you go. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Oy vey.
I think it's funny, by the way, that I really believe this. I believe that Bret Hart and George St. Pierre might hold more respect in Canada than even their prime minister. So
absolutely. That's not even.
That's why I'm sure. That's why I'm sure Bret knew. Like, oh, they'll do what I tell them.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, yeah, Brett could be their prime minister tomorrow, and George St. Pierre be his running mate.
Yeah, right.
So this next match, man, we get a little Japanese flavor here. It's the Great Sasuke versus Taka Michinoku. The match went for 10 minutes exactly. This was a debut for both Taka and Sasuke. Before the match starts, Mankind and Helmsley fight back to ringside. They eventually brawl the backstage area, and the bell rings to start the match.
This is where I bumped my rating up to 3, by the way, for that last match. Because it wasn't over, so you have to keep adding points on, I think. It's only fair. I mean,
And this isn't even the original match. This is the second segment where they brawl out in the crowd. Mankind busts Triple H open here. So there's more added to it. So you get some juice, pal.
Added value, as Bruce Pritchard would say.
This match, man, I took some commentary notes because I will say this, top to bottom, even if the matches were fine and they weren't amazing, I was enthralled in a lot of this. So I was listening to all the commentary, closely. JR and King point out that neither man can speak much English. And Vince says, in any language, it's competition in the squared circle. What does that even mean?
In any language, it's wrestling. Without saying wrestling. I don't know.
Sure. He had, as a kid, you don't really, some people are glaringly bad, but as a kid, I liked Vince and he was the voice of wrestling for me. But as an adult, I'm watching these shows back just cringing at his commentary. Yeah, I don't know. Also, King makes a reference.
I just remember why I liked him.
Yeah. Well, King makes a reference to Tyson and Holyfield, who we talked about earlier, and he says, only stop the match if he bites his ear off. What the F, man? Sasuke shocked me, by the way, because he kicks out of the Michinoku driver, which JR puts over big. But, Sasuke does no jobs. He's like the Japanese version of Mil Mascaras, except he can actually work. I don't know how to say it.
Doesn't work for me, brother.
Basically, yeah. Sasuke, I heard, turned down a lot of job offers because they wanted him to do the job. And he said, no thanks.
So he literally turned down job offers.
Yes, literally. Quite literally.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yes. He eventually beats Taka with a powerbomb, followed by a bridging tiger suplex into a pin. Uncle Dave just fondled himself to this match and gave it 4 stars. I gave it 3.5. What say you?
I gave it 4 as well. I love this match. Pure wrestling match. I thought it was the best one on the card.
I thought it was a really good light heavyweight division match. And they even, have the graphic to start out. Light heavyweight division match.
Looking back at it, I remember watching them oh, okay, this is going to be their answer to the cruiserweight division. And if you're going off of this, holy crap, it's going to be a really good competition. Of course, it would be doomed from there on, but.
Yeah, because shortly after this, it just becomes Brian Christopher and Taka every freaking night.
Yeah, right.
There's that.
But yeah, I thought it was great. It felt like it was nonstop. I said it was explosive, nonstop, and I was kind of shocked at the finish.
Yeah, considering Sasuke never did anything else in WWF. Yeah. And they were trying to, Taka, apparently, listening to Bruce Pritchard, Taka was to them, that was a get. They were like, holy crap,
I think they traded, if I remember correctly, they traded Too Cold Scorpio to ECW for him. I remember, yeah.
I don't remember Taka being in ECW ever.
I feel like he was at Barely Legal.
Huh.
A couple months prior. I think he was, yeah. I'm pretty sure he was. Huh. With the rest of Kai and Tai, which I don't know their names.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah.
Directly after this match, we go back to the never-ending brawl between Hunter Hearst Helmsley and Mankind. It continues in the parking lot, and it finally gets broken up after a while. But, they did some cool stuff in the parking lot.
I was going to say, this part right here is when I bumped it up to 3 stars.
Yeah. It was...
I was still between 2 and 3 at this point, but yeah.
Yeah, it was... this was a good parking lot brawl. It was short, sweet, to the point. And, yeah, I mean, like you and I talked about, there's more yet to come in, the future months. So, you know, stuff to set up for the future. Next up, though, it's explained that Ahmed Johnson was supposed to face The Undertaker tonight, but he was injured in a brawl on Raw is War, so he's been replaced by Vader. I'll tell you what, man, I forgot that Ahmed Johnson was in the Nation of Domination.
Well, I mean, right after he comes back, they boot him out, so it doesn't surprise me that you forgot.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like he would be the perfect fit for that group, though. I mean, especially with his first name being Ahmed.
I think it was a doomed turn from the start, honestly.
What?
Because like he was like a big face. Like I feel like watching it back, he was major over. I don't understand the turn, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then he joins the Nation and says he didn't get any opportunities because of his skin color and all this stuff. And, I mean, it worked. Don't get me wrong, but like it didn't go anywhere. And then he gets hurt, comes back, they boot him out, and it's like, okay, he's a face again, just like that. And I feel like any momentum he had was gone.
Yeah, it's a little nutty. I don't fully understand. And I thought like maybe I was the only one, but I think you felt the same way too. And like I'm seeing all these people on social media talk about him, and they were like, man, his like I loved Ahmed Johnson. Like we hear all the stuff now about he wasn't a good worker. I mean, obviously his promos were kind of crap, but I mean like when his theme song hit, man, it made you like want to stand up, like.
Yeah, I was with you. I love that theme. I love his whole way. I loved his Pearl River plunge. Yeah, I was a fan of his. So.
Yeah, his Tiger Driver, the Pearl River plunge was great. I mean, it wasn't like, it didn't look like, Masawa's where it looked like he was going to murder you, but it was good. And I don't know. He had energy to it. He had that intangible it.
Yep.
So I think it was just that he wasn't super safe in the ring for himself or others. I think that was the whole reason why he didn't get the push to the moon that he should have. And oddly enough, when he came in, JR explained this on his podcast, that when he came into the WWF, trying to come up with a name for him, they had Bill Watts on payroll at the time, and he wanted to
well, what can go wrong there?
Well, he wanted to call him Buck Johnson.
Buck.
And they said, we'll go with Johnson, but like, we're not calling him Buck. But hey, this was only part one, man. He went on to have huge success as Big T in WCW.
I want to slap you for that.
Where he looked like he ate his former self.
They were feuding over a frickin' letter.
They were. And that's coming up in a future episode. We gotta talk about the feud over the letter T, Booker T and Big T in the Harlem Heat. Because Greg, suckers gots to know. But anyway, Doc Hendricks is in the back. He interviews Paul Bearer and Vader. Well, he interviews Paul Bearer, and Vader just kind of stands there flexing and going, looking like he really has to crap. A wise man once said, crap before your match, or your match will be the craps. Anyway.
I'm almost certain, by the way, this is the last big thing Vader does.
Yeah. Oh, what do you mean, Greg? He would get hit in the head with a wrench later on, lose a mask versus mask match, and then refer to himself as a fat piece of crap.
It's sad that you clean that up too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite
Go watch
part, or don't. My favorite part of that whole thing, by the way, is one, who cares if he loses his mask? Half the time he took it off mid-match anyway.
Yeah, right.
Second of all, my favorite part of that whole thing was Paul Bearer putting Vader's mask on and dancing around Vader's lifeless body doing the Vader sign. that was good TV, man.
Good stuff, pal.
By the way, Paul Bearer was like slowly morphing from Paul Bearer into Percy Pringle here. Did you notice that?
I did, because he saw. I remember watching this and being baffled that his face wasn't that pale white. Like, it was like a shock to like 13-year-old me. What the hell? His face is not really that white.
Yeah.
I think, and I remember Undertaker burning his face at, I think it was Revenge of the Taker. Yeah. When he faced Mankind at WrestleMania, he burned him. I remember that. And I was like, kind of like shocked. I'm like, whoa, I didn't know his makeup.
Right. Well, and then his mustache is shaved off here, and his hair is almost blonde.
Yeah.
So
that was more kind of like red, but yeah.
There's a reddish it was like a strawberry blonde kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Paul calls the Undertaker a murderer, which is going to be a theme for a while.
You're a murderer! Good Lord, they hammered that home, by the way.
I know. And like the one time during the match, he just like looks over at the camera and goes, murderer!
Yep. I love the stuff he was doing with the crowd. I don't even remember what he said, but he was like all over the crowd too.
Oh no, he was earning his paycheck at this event, man. This was like peak Paul Bearer. But he calls the Undertaker a murderer, and he says if Vader is going to whoop Taker like he did at the Royal Rumble, and in case you forgot what happened, 6 months earlier, just about. Apparently, Vader hit a Vader bomb on the Undertaker and pinned him. Did they have a one-on-one match? What's the story here? Because I forget.
At Royal Rumble, yeah.
Okay.
And then they both competed in the Royal Rumble after.
Yeah. So that happened back in January. We are now in July. So, what is it with the Undertaker having matches 6 months to a year after the original angle took place?
Does never forget.
I guess so. He came after Brock Lesnar how many years after, their original scuffle?
A year and a half, I think.
Yeah.
Which we're getting to, by the way, because you and I were at.
Yes, we were.
Just gotta plug that.
He did the same freaking thing to, Triple H. I just, this is like a theme with him. But anyway.
Hey, too, when you think about it, because, he came after him after he killed him. Too soon?
The Undertaker defended the WWF World Heavyweight Championship against Vader with Paul Bearer in his corner. This match went around 12 and a half minutes. The Undertaker had the concussion pyro in the corners at this time, which I forgot he was doing in 97. I didn't think he started that till 98. And by the way,
I think he only did it at pay-per-views.
Bruce Pritchard shared a story about that. He said they stopped doing it because he said the pyro guy had one job, load up 3 corners, not the one with the stairs that Taker would walk up, because you don't want it exploding in his face. Well, on multiple occasions, he loaded all 4 corners. And he said on the final time, after the millionth time this happened, Taker came to the back and said, never again, take him out. So
I feel like it would happen at Judgment Day 98. I'd have to watch.
I forget. Yeah, like you said, I'd have to go back and watch. And then he goes back to just raising his arms. Vader kicks one right between the uprights, right in front of the referee, by the way. Doesn't get disqualified.
I made a note about that. What was the ECW rules now?
Yeah. And JR is just they're letting it go because it's a big match. I hate when they do that crap. And Bruce said he used to fight about that during the Attitude Era. And he's like, what the hell? And Pat's like, who cares? We're making no disqualification. And he's like, so every match has no rules? He said that was a Vince Russo thing as well. He's like, bro, nobody cares.
Nobody's gonna pay attention to the rule book, bro. They barely even like wrestling, bro.
If anybody's keeping count, that's 3 impressions I've done so far. So there you go. But then the Undertaker gets him up for a tombstone. Vader reverses it, lands on his feet, and then falls flat on his back because he fumbled it. But the Undertaker pays him back later because Vader goes for a Vader bomb. Taker gets up and he punches him right in the gonads. Again, right in front of the ref, and then chokeslams him off the second rope. Not ever seen this before. I thought that was it, but Vader kicked out. So Taker hits another chokeslam. Oddly enough, for as big as Vader is, he got up for that chokeslam.
I had to make a note, by the way, about that, how he caught him for the tombstone. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, yes, he finishes it off with a tombstone for the win. Paul Bearer throws a tantrum and he just leaves Vader behind. I gave it 3 stars. Uncle Dave gave it 3 1/4 stars, which I hate the 1/4 system. But what do you say?
3 as well.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really good match. Really, like, okay, just good. Not really good, but good.
Right. It didn't blow me away. It wasn't bad at all. I thought it was good, like you said. And I will say it was about 12 and a half minutes. If it went any longer, I probably would have got bored. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah.
No.
I didn't think there was I didn't think there was like one dull moment. I thought it was borderline.
Right.
But, yeah.
And Paul Bearer got involved. Like I said, he was earning his money at ringside. Go back and check this out. I thought he did some great work during this era. So I can't say it was my favorite Paul Bearer because I always lean on Paul Bearer that I knew, like, pale face and,
black hair
and going, oh, yes. But I did like this Paul Bearer. Or as he would be affectionately known multiple times as the Fat Man.
By his own hand, by the way.
Yeah. He referred to himself as the Fat Man multiple times. Man. But next up, man, we get a great promo package for the main event. And it's voiceovered by Todd Pettengill. There you go. He still makes an in-your-house appearance, kind of. Doc Hendricks.
Well, I'd be willing to bet this is the last one.
Probably. I guarantee he was on his way out. Unfortunately. I love Todd. I grew up watching him on Coliseum Home Videos, so.
I marked when they brought him back for In Your House, NXT In Your House.
Yeah, that was great. I was so glad. Unfortunately, he did not give away a house with Stephanie Wyan, but, whatever.
He teased it.
He did. Doc Hendricks is now in the back. He interviews the team of Steve Austin, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, and the LOD. The guys all get their time in except for Austin, who just decides to storm off without a comment. Possibly the best promo guy in that entire group doesn't say a word. I did mark a little bit. Oh, go ahead.
I was like looking at the whole team like, good Lord, man. Like, so many. Like, everybody's a Hall of Famer. Like, on both sides. If they're not in the Hall of Fame, they will be or should be. One of the two. But it's crazy.
Right. Oh, I know. That's,
like, when is the last time you see a 10-man tag and everyone is like a actual legit good wrestler and a Hall of Famer? Not just like, okay. Like, I feel like all 10 of these guys were great.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There wasn't a stinker in the bunch. There wasn't a guy in this match that had to be carried.
Right.
Say. Yeah. And I thought it was still cool. I mean, obviously LOD was well past their prime at this time, but they still had some.
Oh, there's a tag title run coming up again, though.
Yeah. And LOD 2000, who I have Jack's figures of, by the way. But I still popped in 97 for Animal cutting his shouty promo and going, tell him, Hawk.
Well, he didn't even say well. He just said, what a rush, right?
Yeah. He's like, I only got one thing to say. What a rush. And I was like, cool. Short, sweet, to the point, and whatever. And was it just me, or was Goldust just playing Dustin Rhodes in face paint?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Which I was fine with, but, whatever. That's what he's doing now in AEW. After that, we get the music group The Farmer's Daughter singing Oh Canada. And then after that, they take time to recognize some Canadian politician who I didn't care about, and the Hart family, who was at ringside.
When I first saw the guy, I thought he was part of the Hart family.
I know, right? There's
like, oh, okay. It's like the entire family and that guy.
Right. I laughed. It's like, what? By the way, Bruce Hart was front row here. He looked like he just came off the set of Top Gun.
Yeah. Aviators and all, man.
Hell yeah. Aviators, aviator jacket, the whole 9 yards. But let's get into this, man. It's the main event, 10-man tag team match. It's what we're all here for. 24 and a half minutes. During Goldust's entrance, JR and Vince both mentioned that Marlena is, quote, at home being a mom tonight with little Dakota, who's sick. That's like, they just like hammered this home. I'm like, okay, cool for explaining why she's not there, but who cares, bro? Like, did you notice that? They kept going out.
I did, yeah.
She's super mom. And then Vince throws in some stupid corny thing. And when she's at the ring, she's a super corner person for Goldust. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Oh, stupid. But when the Hart Foundation come out, man, the pop is deafening and it lasts forever. Brian Pillman is the first person out and he gets a humongous pop. And then Neidhart comes out it's okay. He still gets a pretty big pop. I think Bulldog is the next out, and he gets pretty large pop, and he comes out with Diana. And then Owen comes out, the crowd loses it. I've got to ask another thing about Owen. Which theme do you like? This theme here, he was still using the Rocket theme.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite one, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they ever switched. That one was great. I did not really care for his later theme that he.
I didn't either. I didn't hate it, but I didn't care for it.
Yeah, it didn't pop. And then on top of that, then they changed it again with him at the beginning. He's like, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Like, that was stupid.
They also put other lyrics in there too.
Yeah, him saying stupid crap.
Turn your back on me, and
it was dumb. But they did that with a few themes around this time period. But Vince, by the way, here's where the impression comes in. Vince refers to Neidhart as that big, nasty rhino. Which I thought was hilarious, because they said every time he would get fired or he had to go home or whatever, Neidhart, that is, Pronounce, pal. Anytime Neidhart would go home or get sent home, Stu would call Vince up and be like, yeah, the big rhino, he's doing good. He's ready for another run, Vinny. And like every time, and like Bruce
it worked.
Said that. Yeah. And he said Vince always had a soft spot for Stu, and he's like, all right, Stu, I'll bring him back. And
well, what the hell did Stu think of who?
Yeah, at least he's got a job. Yeah. The fact that Vince said it just like that leads me to believe that Bruce Pritchard is not exaggerating at all. Because he said he'd call up, hey, you got a spot for the rhino? He's really been working hard. He's ready to come back. Yeah.
I even pointed out when we were watching it. He called him the rhino.
I know. I was like, that's awesome. But yeah, Brett comes out last, by the way, and he's cheered like a god. Like you just said, I mean, he could run for prime minister tomorrow and win.
I felt like it was a bunch of Catholics seeing the Pope. That's literally what it sounded like. It went crazy, dude. Seriously.
Oh, I know. It's nuts. Stone Cold, by the way, easily and masterfully slipped back into his heel persona, and he had the crowd just eating out of the palm of his freaking hand. I mean, don't get me wrong. He was using a lot of, middle fingers to piss off the crowd, but at the same time, he's doing a lot of heel work during this match.
I think there's even a nut shot at some point, right?
There's one from Shamrock. I know that for a fact, because he did that to, I want to say Owen, but it might have been somebody else. But either way, Shamrock nutshotted somebody. I know Stone Cold kept eye raking and rubbing his knee brace into people's faces and crap like that. And there's something we'll get to later on. I guess it's par for the course here for the Road Warriors, but Bulldog hit the running power slam on Hawk. Goldust broke up the pinfall attempt, and then Hawk just no-sells it and calmly walks to the corner. Did you notice that?
I did not.
Yeah, he just kind of gets up, walks to the corner, stands there, adjusts his tights, like nothing's wrong. I'm like, you just took the dude's finish.
I remember watching it and then being like, wow, he ate the finish already. Like, there's gonna be and I didn't remember it like verbatim from when I first saw it when I was 13, but I did remember like, wow, there's gonna be a lot of finishes in this match with a lot of interference, breaking up the 3 counts. That's what I was thinking about, so I must have missed that part.
Oddly enough, there weren't a lot of finishes. There was like a couple, but they didn't overuse them, which I liked, because that just seems to be a trope in multi-man matches now. But yeah, so I mean, you got to think Hawk's, one of Hawk's favorite spots was he would take a pile driver and stand right up and no-sell it. So I mean, this wasn't, this wasn't different.
Thinking back to it, by the way, watching this when I was a kid, I actually remember, like, why the hell are the Canadians cheering the bad guys? Like, even when I was a kid, it didn't resonate with me. Oh, they're literally the heroes here. I mean, I knew they were in Canada. I knew they were from Canada. I was like, they're the bad guys.
Right.
So,
God dang it, Canada. Bizarro world.
Also, I gotta point out, there were more non-Canadians on this Canadian team than there were Canadians. Just interesting.
Yeah. Yep, they have 2 Americans, a Brit, and then 2 Canadians. It's hilarious. I just now thought of that, yeah. But yeah.
But I gotta also point out, it wasn't Team Canada, it was the Hart Foundation. So
right.
That's the loophole. Yeah.
Yeah. They were all trained in Canada by Stu. Yeah. Or they
married to a Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah. After LOD hits the Doomsday device on Owen, everyone hits the ring and it turns into a melee or melee, however you pronounce it. While Austin posts Owen's leg and he takes a chair to it, Owen's brother Bruce socks Austin from behind in the crowd. Allegedly, Bruce legitimately hit Austin, and Austin turned around and went off on him with punches.
Is that when he grabs Stu at first, or is that later?
No, it's. I think that's later.
Because I remember seeing that, like, not to get ahead, was like, is he gonna hit him?
Oh hell, he probably would have killed him. Though. Owen had to be helped to the back by referees at this point. He acted like he couldn't walk after this. As payback, Brett posted Austin's knee and then nailed it with a fire extinguisher multiple times.
That looked sick, by the way.
Oh, I know. You could tell he was hitting him, like, in the brace. So, I mean, Brett...
Still, though, man. Hell no.
Oh, I know. But, I mean, that just proves Brett is the excellence of execution, man. I mean, he didn't hurt Austin at all. So, he didn't injure him, I'll say. I don't know about hurting him, but he didn't injure him. Austin then got help to the back as well. He kind of refused help, but they tried to. He later comes back limping. The finish comes when Austin pulls Bruce, Smith, and Keith Hart over the railing. I think that's when he grabbed Stu. He pulled them all three brothers in over the railing, the ringside area, and a fight breaks out. Austin then goes back into the ring. Owen's back by this point, by the way. He rolls him up with a schoolboy, grabs the tights, so he's still the heel, but the Canadians don't care. He gets the win for the Hart Foundation, and the crowd blows the roof off the Saddle Dome. It was a deafening freaking pop when they counted 3, dude.
Yeah. I gotta just be full front. I hated the way the match ended. This epic match should have had like a huge, no, not just that. Just, it was a schoolboy. It was like, dude, like if this match is so built up, it should have had like a defining finish. Like Hart should have the sharpshooter or something. I don't know. I looked at it, I just hate it.
Right, I get that logic, and it's kind of like last week when we talked about the finish of the 2 out of 3 falls with Flair and Steamboat. So yeah. I get that, but I don't know, man. I think they just wanted to win. Uncle Dave gave this.
I threw a fit when I was a kid, by the way, when they lost.
Uncle Dave gave this match 4 and 1/4 stars.
I was about to. What the hell?
I gave it 5 stars. I loved it. I don't know. I really loved it. And I know you've told me before that crowd reaction literally does nothing for you in a match, but seriously, like, the crowd reaction here pumped it up.
Well, to clarify, I said I don't judge a match because of what they think. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, if a crowd's quiet or something, I'm not gonna be like, oh, this match sucks because the crowd's not into it, so.
If a crowd's flat, that kind of takes me out of it a little bit emotionally. But when the crowd's red hot like this,
I will agree with that if I'm there.
Yeah. Besides the finish, I can see where you're coming from. I liked it though because it was a sneaky, underhanded thing. Kept Austin strong. It's set up for Owen Austin, and the Canadians got the win, which everybody wanted in the crowd, and at the same time, they were still the bad guy cheaters,
Yeah.
So I think it covered all the bases there. After the match, crap really hit the fan as the Americans and the Hart family all fill the ring and brawl until the cops break it up. The Harts then celebrate in the ring until Austin runs back with a chair by himself.
That was one of my favorite parts, by the way, because I forgot all about that.
Yeah, so did I. I didn't remember that. But he runs back in by himself with a chair, and he goes after Owen, and all the Hart brothers jump him. And then the police arrest Austin and handcuff his hands behind his back, and he's taken away while he's flipping fans off behind his back. And McMahon says, "I can't believe he's making hand gestures."
I loved that he came back out, but I just I thought it would have been cool if Stu got a shot in there.
Yeah. With the way Stu was moving, I don't know if Stu could even throw half of a punch. So
yeah, that's true.
I could be wrong, but probably not.
I also just realized I didn't tell you my rating. I thought it was a 5-star too, based on everything. Now, if I'm going to be honest with you, I think the match was probably about 3 stars, but I factor a lot of other stuff in, like how heated it was, and just I felt like they could do no wrong here.
It was the perfect storm, the perfect time. This was great, and it was one of this and SummerSlam were like the last 2 big pay-per-view hurrahs for Brett before he's on his way out at Survivor Series.
Yeah, he'd have a couple of forgettable matches. I mean, I think he would go on to face the Patriot, and then him and Bulldog in a flag match, I believe, or something at Bad Blood. But they were not gonna. But they were not gonna overshadow the Hell in a Cell, which closed the show. So whatever.
Right.
But
yeah, it was.
I'll call that a throwaway for Brett.
I remember it was him and. Yeah, I think it was him and Bulldog versus Vader and Patriot. Tag team flag match. Yeah. So this was.
Getting into the aftermath. Oh, you go ahead. Sorry.
Just to close out here with this, the Hart family helps Stu and Helen into the ring. The entire family celebrates together. It's huge. My favorite line of the night here was Lawler says, "Stu and Helen are responsible for all of this."
I gotta point out a couple of things. Number one, when they were getting Helen in there, I don't know if you caught it, but like, the way Lawler said it was almost like she was getting in there to do a run-in. Oh my God, Helen's gonna get in there. It's like, yeah.
That's great.
Like, she was like genuinely like saying it like she was running in to interfere in the match or something.
My God.
And then my second thing, I was watching this with a mutual friend, Ramon. We both noticed that Owen and Brett looked miserable in the celebration. If you go back and look at their faces in the mid, not the whole time, but like Owen is kind of has this look on his face like, I can't believe, what the hell are we doing? Why are we here? He just had that look like he didn't want to be there. I don't know if it was just us, but he looked miserable, and Brett was in the corner, and looking back at it, I can see he was probably not mad. He was probably like really happy, but he had that like shocked, happy look on his face. You know what I mean? Like, you're really happy about something. But they just looked miserable. Like it just came off like they were miserable about this whole celebration. I don't know why.
The shot that I remember that stuck out to me that I thought will stick with me forever. They used it on Dark Side of the Ring. Was he's holding Oj in one arm and he's waving the little Canadian flag.
Yeah, right.
He looks like a proud father. And
I feel like that's when it picked up.
What's going on? Yeah.
But before that, if you go back and watch it, if you ever get time, just go back and look at their reactions, him and Brett specifically. Like, I don't know what it was. They just looked unhappy.
Well, Brett had that resting,
I
don't know, mean face. I don't know what to call it for a dude. But the final...
We could just say RBF, right?
Sure,
we don't have to define it.
Hey, Google it. Throw it into your Google machine. But the final ratings of the show, man, Internet Movie Database rated a 7.6 out of 10, which I thought was pretty low. CageMatch.net gave it an 8.43 out of 10, and then I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was a B+.
I thought maybe A-. I thought that if the Mankind Triple H match would have had a better, I have to go back on everything I said, but if it was an actual match, I think this might have been an A+ show.
Yeah, I agree with that. IMDb always gives like really low ratings, and I don't know why.
I feel like they do an aggregate of people's votes.
Yeah, well, Cage Match does the same thing, but I don't know. People are more.
This is why I make my own notes for these shows and don't look at theirs, because I don't want to be biased by their notes. So I'll make my own notes and then go look at theirs. Like, that's how I always do it. Yeah, I never want to be ever biased.
That's what I do with Uncle Dave's ratings too, because I don't want to see his and then be, even subconsciously, I'm like, it's this star. But yeah, man, that wraps up In Your House 16 Canadian Stampede. We have one show for the month of July. We are wrapping up the Steamboat Flair trilogy. That's going to be on the 29th. We're going to do NWA, Wrestle War 89, Music City Showdown. That's going to be a good one. You definitely want to, if you have never seen it and you want to hear us talk about it first, which you should, it's good stuff. I'm excited to watch the whole card, and there's a big surprise at the end, so stick around for that. Going into the month of August.
Really quick, I think it's a double turn, now that I think about it.
Yeah, kinda, yeah, you're right. And, You'll see. But, heading into August, our schedule, just laying it out real quick. August 5th, we already teased it. We're doing SummerSlam 2015 because you and I were there in New York City or Brooklyn, whatever.
One of the boroughs.
Yeah. It was the biggest SummerSlam ever at that point. It was 4 hours long. Amazing. And they had Takeover Brooklyn 1 the night before. So it was a great fun-filled week in New York that we'll talk about, and an amazing weekend of wrestling. We stuck around for Raw and SmackDown the next couple nights. And then August 12th, we've got WCW. This will be a fun one just because it's of the kind of show it is. August 12th, we got WCW Road Wild 1999. This is the last time they were in Sturgis. So, yay. Yeah. That's about all I can say about it. So, yeah. I'm I guess excited to watch this. I don't know. We'll find out how I feel. August 19th, though, this one I'm very excited about. We're going back to the Attitude Era, man. 1 year after this, SummerSlam 1998, headlined by Stone Cold, Steve Austin, and The Undertaker, New York again. So we're sticking with the Attitude Era. Everybody loves hearing about that. So we'll dive into all that craziness. We're closing out the month. This show cannot be found on the WWE Network, but I did find a link, so Greg and I can watch it and review it. It's a historic show in WCW history. August 26th, we'll cover Born to be Wired, 1997, from ECW. This is the one with Terry Funk and Sabu in a barbed wire ropes match.
Because why not?
Oh, yeah. We're going to see a lot of blood. But all right, man. Thank you for joining me today.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see you all next week for Wrestle War 89.